Alrighty, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Timeout with Doc and Caveman. As always, you're here with Dr. Fantasy and my co-host, the Fantasy Caveman. Before we get rolling, please make sure you subscribe on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. That way you get notified anytime we post any great NBA content. With that said, we are down to our second to last prospect profile, and we are talking about Evan Mobley, potentially the only 7-footer that could be drafted this year. I was looking it up, and there's some projected towards the end of the second, but no other real big prospects that are 7 feet tall this year. He has a 7'4" wingspan, 215 pounds, was a freshman for USC last season. His averages as a freshman: 16.4 points, 8.7 rebounds, 2.9 blocks, 57.8% from the field, 30% from three, and then 69% from the free throw line. So, Caveman, make it super interesting.
Oh man, you just say that because you knew beforehand it wasn't going to be that interesting.
Exactly.
So, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this, but he played guard up until high school, where he hit a major growth spurt. Like he grew 6-7 inches in high school.
That's crazy, but okay.
I mean, but hey, we're definitely gonna be talking about it, but you can definitely see how at some point in his former life that he was a guard.
Mm-hmm. Yep. My interesting fact.
Fun fact as well on this one.
It's not that interesting. I just thought so. He won Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, Pac-12 Rookie of the Year. The only other player to do that, Anthony Davis. So I thought that was a.
Saying he is going to be Anthony Davis. That's what I heard.
I think he's better than Anthony Davis. Sarcasm, but maybe. You never know. I don't want to say sarcasm, and then he actually turns out to be better than Anthony Davis. So maybe, who knows? That's what we're here to talk about. So what do you got for strengths?
All right. Yeah, I think the first thing that jumps out to me is when tied into my fun fact. He is very quick and moves very well for his size, as you see him run the transition and he just moves very quickly for a guy that's 7 foot. And that you don't see a lot of 7-footers that can move like Mobley can. That's going to be definitely help him at the next level. And then you mentioned he averaged almost 2.9 blocks, almost 3 blocks a game. Makes him a great rim protector and shot blocker. And what was impressive about his blocks and his rim protection is he did it while committing under 2 fouls a game. So not only was he a good rim protector and shot blocker, he knew how to do it without fouling. And that's going to be big at the next level. You see a lot of guys in the NBA that know how to block shots, but you don't see a lot of guys in the NBA that know how to block shots without committing fouls. So I think that is definitely a skill that going in that it's going to help him out. And then my last one, he just moves like a guard. That's what I think. That's going to be, not saying he has like great playmaking ability or anything, but he just moves like a guard and just that's why I just love that about him. The fact just he's a little man in a big man's body.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like about him. He is a modern big man in today's modern NBA. I mean, that's the reality, is he was kind of tailor-made for today's game. And, you said he's not a great playmaker. I would say the opposite, honestly. For his size, the way he runs the floor, he averaged 2.5 assists, which is pretty good for a big man. But I actually see a lot of potential there where, I mean, you can tell that he played guard. He's very fluid. For his size, he's a fantastic ball handler. And so you can tell that he was primarily a guard. And The fluidity is definitely one of the first things that you notice. He has a lot of body control in the paint. He doesn't do it by being assertive. He doesn't do it with power, which you can see he does not have a lot of. But he does it because he's very fluid. He's very crafty, I would say, around the rim. And the other, I'll also say, he has a very smooth stroke for a big man. I know he only shot 30% from three, but I mean, when you watch it, he's just it's smooth. I don't know. He has a really smooth stroke, and I really enjoy how he shoots the basketball. So the defensive ability is there. There's a 3-pointer from him. The defensive ability is there, as you mentioned, at his size and length. He is a good rim protector, but it does transition me to one of his weaknesses. His size and his strength at the next level. I don't think he would be a very good rim protector. If you put him against Joel Embiid or Jokic or, I mean, any of these big men in today's league, they would absolutely bully him in the paint. So I think he's kind of relied on his length to be a rim protector up to this point. And as much as that'll get you far to a certain extent, he's definitely going to have to bulk up for sure. So as much as he was his top level defender at the next level, and don't get me wrong, he's still going to be a good defender because he has enough quickness to where he could defend more than guys like Joel Embiid. He could defend some wings realistically with his speed and length. So I do think he's going to offer some versatility in that range. Not that he'll be asked to do that, but I definitely think that he has that kind of potential. And then the other thing I mentioned before was just his overall explosiveness. Maybe that's more because he's more, I'd call him a finesse player right now. He's a guy that's crafty. But one of the things that I see that he does a lot when he's in the paint, I feel like he settles for fadeaway jumpers sometimes. And don't get me wrong, he has a really nice fadeaway, which they haven't shown a lot in this highlight film, but I saw it several times. But I think he takes bad step back fadeaway jumpers sometimes instead of going up strong, drawing more fouls. And he's not a terrible free throw shooter, but I think he can be a little more assertive in the post rather than just settling for, not the greatest contested fadeaways.
Yeah, and I think part of that is due to the fact that he's just simply not that big for his size. He isn't always able to get into the paint, which is definitely going to be concerning at the next level. You brought up his shooting. Oh well, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, his release is a bit slow. If you notice that it takes him not at his size. I don't know how much that's gonna matter, but it is still a bit. His release is still a bit slow, so I think that maybe if he wants to become a little bit better of a 3-point shooter at the next level, which in today's league, with his size and build, he's probably going to need to live out at the 3-point line a little bit because he's definitely not a guy that's going to just be able to bang down low and be a traditional 5. I think he's more of kind of that 4-5-ish. He's probably going to, I think, at least off the bat, he's probably going to play a lot more 4. So if he's going to play a lot more 4, I think he's going to need to at least work on speeding up that release a little bit. But he's one of those guys, like I'm not too concerned with his weaknesses, if we're being honest. Like I think he'll be just fine. I think he'll put on the weight. I think he can learn to speed up his release a little bit and being assertive, and that's something that can be coached. So I think he'll be just fine, and that definitely the fact that his weaknesses are so correctable. In addition to what you said about the fact that there's really not that many of these big men that are 7 foot plus in this draft class, I think you combine all those things, and it's very easy to see why he's a top 3 lock.
Yeah, and I mean, I would be shocked, if we're being honest, if the top 3 wasn't Cunningham, Green, and Mobley in some order. Honestly, I would be shocked. I mean, I think that they just stand above everybody else in terms, and I think when you're talking about guys like this, they have the perfect combination of upside, but they also have a floor to me, I mean, we said it with Jalen Green. What's his floor? Like an all-star caliber scorer. I mean, that's a pretty good floor if you ask me. And same with Evan Mobley. Even if he doesn't add strength, let's say, I mean, he's scrawny and kind of lanky right now. Let's say he stays that way. I mean, there's some guys that I'm sure we'll talk about, and we will because I'm going to bring them up. But I'm sure that there's some guys. I mean, there's guys that have made careers out of playing like that. He could just be a finesse big man playing that stretch four is what I think. That's, what they called it, 10 years ago, stretch fours. Guys that played in the paint, but they more like to step out, take jumpers, and, they had a strong mid-range game. And I think he has a lot of potential to have a nice mid-range game.
I like that as a potential floor for him, but that's also why I think maybe he needs to speed up the release just a tad.
Yeah, definitely a little bit. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. He has a nice follow through. I think that's why it looks so smooth. So ideal fits then. I mean, we're talking top 3 here with the Rockets, the Pistons, and the Cavaliers. If we're looking at it at this point, probably the team that could use a big man the most. I mean, see, I struggle to put him somewhere because I would say honestly, if the best fit just from with the players that they have currently, honestly, would probably be the Pistons because Isaiah Stewart I think is going to be a little more of a traditional center, and then they really don't have any length besides Isaiah Stewart. So honestly, it's not going to happen. He's not going to go number 1, but I do think he kind of fits in the best there for being realistic about it. Now I think he'll most likely end up on the Cavaliers. I mean, they technically still have Kevin Love.
I like him and Jared Allen in the front court together.
Yeah, no, I think him and Jared Allen are a fantastic combination. That's why it's not a bad fit. It's technically a bad fit because Kevin Love's still there, but Kevin Love's not going to be the future.
Doesn't even feel like I know he's still on the Cavaliers, but
he's going to be gone. He'll be gone. But yeah, I mean, that offers a kind of interesting starting 5 for them when you consider Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Isaac Okoro, Garland, and Sexton. I don't know. Call me. I'm intrigued. And I think that it's interesting if he can bulk up and be a rim protector because Garland and Sexton are not good on the perimeter. So it at least makes guys think twice about going to the rim. Because sure, you get around those two, but you have Mobley in the paint waiting for you. That can definitely make you think twice.
No, that's...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking, like, let's say there's a crazy scenario. If we're talking hypothetically outside the top 3, I put Minnesota down as well.
Yeah.
In case I don't see them falling out of the top 3, but hypothetically, let's say a guy like Jalen Suggs, for example, gets into the top 3 for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's fit very well in a place like Minnesota. Honestly, he's one of those, and I think with these top prospects, we say this, he's a guy that you can put it anywhere and it wouldn't be a bad fit.
Yeah, definitely. Yep, I'd agree. You can find a place for Evan Mobley. I mean, that's the reality of it. So let's go to some NBA comparisons then. So the guy I was alluding to before just made a long career out of being really scrawny and crafty was Chris Bosh. Just based on his body and the way that he, just being fluid and crafty offensively, he reminded me a lot of Chris Bosh. But I'm going to throw out some other names that came to mind because lots of names started coming to me. I saw a little bit of Bam in terms of his ball handling and being more of a modern big man. Bam's probably not the level of jump shooter that I think Mobley can be, but that's why...
It seemed like Bam's starting to work on it a little bit.
Yeah, he's been better. Yeah, Bam, and I think that he's going to continue to improve. But up to this point, I think I'd say Mobley has more potential doing that. Other guys that were those classic stretch fours that I was talking about, LaMarcus Aldridge had a really nice mid-range game and was more crafty in the paint. The other guy I said was Pascal Siakam from Toronto. Once again, not as tall as Mobley, but same thing, more of a stretch four. Not a guy you necessarily want playing center for you. Then the last two. So my high-end one was, I mean, honestly, a little bit of Kevin Garnett, which I think might sound That was the one you're going to bring. I'll let you talk about that one. But my low end one, too, because all those were also literally, we haven't talked about one, or I haven't mentioned one guy that hasn't made an all-star team. So the other one I had as a low end was Christian Wood, ironically enough, if he ended up in Houston. But Christian Wood kind of plays that same style where he's been more of a stretch. You don't necessarily want him being your center. So I think it would be a little interesting if they ended up playing together because I don't know how I feel about that fit, but I mean, there's a lot of talent there, so I see. But realistically, I say Christian Wood's his floor. I don't think we know what Christian Wood's upside is yet because he hasn't been healthy enough. I think he has all-star upside. So either way, I mean, that's just a lot of praise for him. So I'm done. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean I struggle. I mean, you talked about me. Man, that game is Kevin Garnett. Not the wasn't the big, but he was just tall, lanky. I think he's not nearly as good on the defensive end that Kevin Garnett was.
Yeah.
But I think he has the ability to become an elite defender for his position. I think he definitely has that in him. My low end was Miles Turner.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking, I like Miles Turner as well. I think he's finally They said he's finally starting to add that 3-point game to him, to his game, and I think if he's Miles Turner's been a very solid big 4-5. I wouldn't call Turner a traditional 5 by any means either. So I think if he turns out to be Miles Turner, I don't think that's that bad either because Miles Turner's been a really solid big man for a while now.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. So a lot of praise for Evan Mobley then. And like I said, that's kind of the theme you see with, I mean, really top prospects every year is they offer that upside with a mix of a really nice floor typically. So yeah, a lot to like here. Only one more to go for, well, actually, we might be doing some bonus ones. It depends if we have time before the draft, but most likely this could be our last one or the next one with Cade Cunningham. So stay tuned for Cade Cunningham. Make sure you
I
never
don't know
heard
who
of him. Never heard of him. If you don't know who he is, tune in and find out.
Yes.